Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Onwane Okonfo-Anokye. The overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah was done in collaboration with the police. Enti Mississippi, sir. Tema Osajifo Okwama Fahudie wa mai women. Na yewo Akuku Dam. Politicians Akuku Dam to say JB Dankwa ne Buzia no omo fighting against independence because I'm bedi on side. Omo throw letter nyina koma British Crown ne say Ghana eni say yama independence because ebefa baby a inform in 70 eni say yama Ghana independence. Mississippi, I reiterate that the independence movement, as Osajifo was belligerently fighting against independence for the colony or the new country he envisioned, there were other politicians, famous politicians like Dr. J.B. Dankwa and the Buzias, fighting behind the local movement for independence. They were actually fighting that the British shouldn't give Ghana power. Initially, they wanted power, but when they saw that it couldn't come their way, now they started fighting against it, saying the independence is too premature, that they shouldn't give Osajifo the independence. Mieke ne ne kase se tametene Osajifo mona kwane independence mo ene bu Akuku Dam politicians says no more kwan against Kwame Nkrumah kase ambeja sa brofo abena independence because Bembe on side. No, that was the basis for the hatred. So Kwame Nkrumah gained and inherited his long life hatred based on the independence movement. And it is a fact, even currently, that people hold grudge against him because he is the man to have independence for the Gold Coast colony, as promised to other people who were supposed royals and intellectuals. It didn't come their way. So, Mississippi, sir, there were one founder. Just say, Oman we ni ochichiri Oman no yeba kupe. Onwane Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Na ohine kesiye Prempeh II. Ono no ma Osajifo title no. Ono no disa abodi no man. Enye se Kwame Nkrumah na sorry no offer no Osajifo. Na ni nyansa na kukudro inti na sante hine Prempeh II. Awe Kwame Nkrumah, ope Kwame Nkrumah sam. Onwu se na adwemu do ono man Osajifo se onkonji colony no emma no. Na ono no wanhu se owa adwempa owa man ho do eni nyansa ode be chichire oman fofora ya jefi abrofo nsem inti asante hene otumfo Prempeh II ena ma Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah title your friend Osajifo. That is the basis. I repeat and I reiterate, Mississippi say Ghana, your founder Onwane Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Bakope. Independence came in 1957. 6th March. It was announced on 6th March 1957. And it was declared at the Accra Polo Grounds. Now the Kwame Nkrumah and Museum. Yes. So on that podium for declaring the independence of Ghana, there were no members of the UGCC or the people we know them as the Bixes on that podium with Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Which I say Kwame Nkrumah announced for independence on 6th March 1957 or Accra Polo Grounds one. Na members na omo UGCC no bako kranka no. Original podium no so a o declare say Ghana anya independence no. UGCC members na ye from Bixes here no na bako kranka no. Bako kranka no. Chese omo won ho to say Komla Agbaligbedema. Jankli Jau Kojobo Chuo omo na no mujina podium no so with Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and son declare independence. But now we have the basics that the children are learning in school, that the founders of the country were some basics from the United Gold Coast Convention. And we know where all that trajectory come from. So independence came, and Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who was the prime minister, became the president. It means the country is autonomous. It means it's not a colony anymore. From a colony, it has become a country. And by virtue, the British invented countries, which means they met kingdoms and clans and states and empires, and they dissolved them by their power of indirect rule. And after independence, those former colonies gained what is called countries. They became nations on their own. They were autonomous. They could lead a direction of their own. They can decide where their country and their collective good should go and come from. So the new Ghana started, and it was a promising country, not a colony. The new Ghana was very promising, led by the vibrant and charismatic Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Was a vibrant country, and he had learned from America. He went to school in America, in the capitalist system of America, but due to some divine intervention, he was not a capitalist. He became a socialist. So he started the country on a socialist basis. Mekyerɛ sɛ Kwame Nkrumah no kɔ school America. America, ɔmo yɛ amanyo a ɛyɛ sika amanyo no ɔmo pɛ sika a baabi a sika wɔ biara ɔmo kɔ fa abɛboa ɔmo man. Ɔmo kind of ɔmo yɛ capitalist. But Kwame Nkrumah ɔbaeɛ no ɔno anyɛ capitalist, ɔyɛ socialist. Kyerɛ sɛ ɔno n'aban no ɛyɛ amanyo aban, ɛyɛ nkurɔfoɔ n'aban, to represent the people. Everything he did it in the collective good of the people. That was the basis of socialism. So he started to control the means of production, in the sense that the country was a colony for the British power, British government, or British crown. And it means everything, every natural resource, including the human resource, were the property of the British crown. So once the country became free, every citizen in that country became free. They were not subjects or properties of the British crown anymore, and they can't be the property of the new president, who is part of the people, who is from the people, who is a representation of the people. So the politics has to benefit the whole collective of the people. After the white minority, who were exploiting the people and the power of the people and resources for the British crown elsewhere. That was the basis. So the new colony, being a country, must manage their own affairs to benefit the collective of the people. So Kwame Nkrumah started controlling the means of production, in the sense that the country needed, the people needed shelter, and it has to be the people to provide a shelter for themselves. They would know how they need it, how much they need it, and when they can have it, and how they can have it. So it is the people who have to control the means of shelter. The people need food, and the people must control that means of producing food. It shouldn't be in the hands of any foreigner who can inflate the prices and control the food production anytime they want at their own whims. But it has to be in the hands of the people. So that is the basis of country and collection of revenues, in the sense that every sector of the economy, to produce comfort for the major collective of the people, was controlled by the government. So when the country was started on an industrial trajectory, in the sense that factories were built to control such means of production. If it is clothing Ghanaians need, Ghanaians must produce that clothing for themselves. So the new president started building such as clothing companies. If we need shoes, we shouldn't import shoes. If we need it for ourselves, we should be able to produce shoes. So that was what the new government did. building factories to control the means of production. So Ghana became a model country. The new country called Ghana became a model country. It became a pride for all black people around the world. Now, if they want to look up to a country other than what they know from the Europes and wherever by white people, now they could have an indigenous country called Ghana that is run by an efficient system led by a vibrant and a very intelligent leader, Kwame Nkrumah. By under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, we had many corporations such as the Ghana Shipping Line, which had about 12 ships under that corporation managed by the state, not for any individual or any rich man or any intelligentsia or the leader himself, but for the people. Run in the name of the people, run by trained professionals by the people, sent to schools on scholarship by the government to come back and those were the days that black people could go outside and study and come back and work for their own country. Those days were the basis where the Ghanaian had some sort of patriotism. Amanhodo started from 1957. Sir, no leader no or system any or the nneɛma gu akwan mu sɛ nea na anka broni ne control bi a sisi bɛba bibini ne nsɛm na bibini ne bɛyɛ ne yie ama broni ne ho sɛ ɔse ɔgye power no na nya agorɔ na ɔdie no onim ne ɔyɛ nti bibia ne yɛyɛ no wɔ Ghana ha ma yɛnya bi tɔn de kɔ abrokyire agye sika the country no na akɔyɛ krabɛhwɛ sɛ bibini bia pɛ ɔman bi de atu ne bo a ɛyɛ Ghana na yɛbɔ sɛ Nigeria ni kɔ abrokyire na ɔpɛ sɛ yɛma no respect a ɔnka sɛ ɔyɛ Nigerian those days ɔbɛka sɛ ɔyɛ Ghanani even though ɔnyɛ Ghanani because ɔnim sɛ ɔka Ghanani a that is the only country that came with respect. Ɔnim sɛ ɔka sɛ ne leader na yɛ Kwame Nkrumah obia bɛma no respect broni mpo bɛma no respect so ofi ɔman a ɔmo nyɛ nimguasefo ɔmo nim ne ɔmo yɛ nti Kwame Nkrumah built corporations or started school. Na yeni university, near University College. University College, it needs status to say university. It means they had their affiliation elsewhere. Another university gave them affiliation. That is why it is a university college. And the first higher institute of learning was the University College of the Gold Coast, which was started by Guggisberg, by Guggisberg, and that institution came to produce local teachers and professionals to train students. So Kwame Nkrumah, after independence, fought for our own university, and he wanted to build the University of Ghana. He told the British, and the British told him that was even before independence. They couldn't finance it. So Kwame Nkrumah put that in front of the chiefs and the Legislative Council, and some chiefs like the Prempeh started collaborating and seeking for help from the local people. So cocoa producers or cocoa farmers gave their quota in the form of cocoa sales to help build the new University of Ghana. And the Ghana chiefs, precisely the La chiefs, gave the land called the Legon, which is the Hill of Wisdom, to the government to build a new university. The University College of the Gold Coast was in the Achimota School, was at the Achimota School, but the new University of Ghana was to be built at Legon, a place the Ghana translate as the Hill of Knowledge. So the new university started, and the Legon that we know now was started by Kwame Nkrumah. He built the University of Cape Coast. He built the University of Winneba. He built the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Right after building the University of Ghana, Prempeh, Asantehene, gave him land to also build one university in the Ashanti region. So the farmers who gave money to build a new university had a hall in the university called Akwafu Hall to commemorate them, to give them respect that they contributed money to build a university. So they gave them a hall called the Akwafu Hall. That is why we have the Akwafu Hall at the University of Ghana. And Legon Hall was the first hall they built at that university, in the sense that it is to commemorate the land given to them by the chiefs. So they named that first hall of the university Legon Hall. And so came other halls like the Mensa Saba Hall. The Baum Library was the name. David Mowbray Baum was the first rector of the University College of the Gold Coast. So by moving to the University of Ghana, they gave him the books that was at the University College of the Gold Coast was transferred to the University of Ghana, and a big portion of that books was given by the man David Mowbray Baum. That is why the Baum Library was named after him. Kwame Nkrumah built corporations, and the University of Ghana, he affiliated with the nuclear and atomic science to learn about nuclear science, how to produce it for energy, not for weapons. Even in those days, he had the foresight for Ghana to benefit in nuclear rather than producing hydroelectric power. But he saw that Ghana could transition from hydroelectric power to nuclear power. So he started the atomic nuclear facility affiliated to the University of Ghana, but unfortunately, subsequent government disbanded it. Kwame Nkrumah's achievement would take a whole book. It is a whole chapter, a whole book for me to read to you. We all know what he did in this country. It is bare fact that everything he did, he ruled for 9 years, but everything he accomplished will last for 90 years. He was that particular about legacy. Look at the Tema motorway. The whole Tema community was started. It was only a shore or fishing shore for the local people, but Kwame Nkrumah transformed it into a community. That the Tema community shipping yard, everything was started by the first president. He built every credible and good thing we have right now. He's the first example and the best example we have. He's the only way. His legacy, his ideology is the only way forward for the new or for Ghana that we have now. Only if we would learn from that legacy, we will know the history. That is why I'm bringing you the bare fact history, for you to know that we have legacies other than what we see now. So if you want good examples to learn as a future politician, you have to know the best and learn from the best. So I'm giving you the history as according to how the fact shows it. That our first president knew what he was doing. He set the country on a strong footing. It was opposition. Mehyɛ sɛ Kwame Nkrumah na tamfo and opposition no ɔmo debate wɔ parliament. Ɔmo to bomb. Ɔmo to tuo. Ɔmo pɛ sɛ ɔmo ku no. So he is the only president. Onya 7 assassination attempts, 3 bomb, 4 tuo. But ɔmo ntimi nku no. Until say ɔsi ɔkɔ Hanoi, Vietnam, aba ansana ɔmo timi tu ne fi adeɛ so. So to move the country, to rightly control the means of production in the country for the local people, the new president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, saw that industrialization was the way. Kyerɛ sɛ ɛwɔ sɛ Ghana yɛ produce bibia amanfoɔ ne hia wɔ manwe mu. Na sɛ yɛsi yɛbɛkra de a ɛneɛ ɛyɛ yɛ gold no ne ebetu ne nyinaa akɔma saa nkrɔfoɔ na yɛkra fi ɔmo. Nti ohun sɛ before you betumi produce bibi no agye sɛ ehia power and electricity and nyinam kanea. Nti yɛba na adwene mu sɛ ɛwɔ sɛ Ghana yɛnya nyinam kanea a government ne dia ɔman no ɛde bɛyɛ saa nnwuma ne mpuntu dwuma a wahyehyɛ no. Nti ɔhyɛ aseɛ sɛ obesi Akosombo Dam. In fact, Akosombo Dam, the biggest legacy factual or the biggest legacy of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is the building of the Akosombo Dam. Building of the Akosombo Dam set Ghana apart from any other African colony or country after independence, in the sense that the country had stable electric power to produce whatever they wanted. And the aim of the hydroelectric power of Akosombo was not only for domestic use, but it was for industrial use, that the factories that had been built will use that power. So he also built the Volta Aluminium Company Limited, called the acronym is VALCO, and VALCO to control the iron ore and the bauxites to produce aluminium, locally produced aluminium, not to import, but to locally produce aluminium for the industries, to produce the need of the people. So Ghana, by way, was a prosperous country, was on the right path. He built schools, more than 15 schools before he was overthrown. Many schools, even he built before the independence. Some he started in 1948. A school like the Insane Senior High, which was known as the Kwame Nkrumah Senior High, was started before independence. Schools like Ghana National College was started in 1948 when he was only the General Secretary of the UGCC. He started that school by his own initiative and money that he gave to the to start that school. And he didn't, in 1948, he didn't name the country the National College of the Gold Coast. He named it Ghana National College instead, knowing that the new country that he would take from the white people, not inherit, but to take from the white people, would be called Ghana, not Gold Coast. The Gold Coast was named by the white man, especially or precisely the English. And that is not the only Gold Coast. In fact, there was a first Gold Coast in Australia. They had discovered the first Gold Coast in Australia, so Ghana became the second Gold Coast. So now, as of now, the only Gold Coast in the world is still in Australia. So Ghana, the Gold Coast colony, became Ghana. And Ghana was on the right path, led by the genius and vibrant and charismatic leader Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And everything was going right for the people of Ghana. We could produce a lot. We could control all the means of production to export some. So from 1957 into the 60s, Ghana was exporting products like shoes, car tires, and all. Many and all these factories and corporations were localized, not privatized. It was state assets. Gaining and controlling the means of production for the people, not for a few or rich people somewhere or any foreign power, but for the local people. And America and the West didn't like it. The imperialist power didn't like it. So they had to fight with the local intelligentsia called the opposition to thwart the gains of the CPP and Osagyefo. So they started fighting against him, and still, aside all those opposition, Ghana was still on course. Osagyefo was building schools, building industries, building corporations for Ghana. GEHOC, all the good and lasting corporations, Ghana Commercial Bank, everything was started by Kwame Nkrumah after 1957. And the real achievement of Kwame Nkrumah will need a topic on it, a subject or a segment on its own. So we'll bring that to you, an episode on its own. So I promise you to bring you that in subsequent editions. So now we're just comparing from the 10 leaders. So this is the first leader who ruled Ghana, the first president of the country. And everything shows factually that he knew what he was doing. He's the only leader, as we will show along the way, that he's the only leader who knew what he was doing. He had the people's interest at heart. He was a patriot. He was patriotic. Or manhood. and the others were bigots. Bigots. Omo mabusia any omo nafufu ni omo hodo instead of the collective. So that was the difference between Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He didn't have his chance as an ex-president. He was overthrown on 24th February 1966 when he was going to broker peace in Vietnam, when America attacked Vietnam, and his friend Ho Chi Minh, who was part of the non-aligned movement of the United Nations, which was started in 1945, that the non-aligned movement were countries who didn't align themselves with any foreign power. So he was invited to broker peace, to speak to America to stop the war against Vietnam. And the American government, through the American embassy, warned Kwame Nkrumah not to meddle in the business of America. He should stay where he is. He shouldn't travel. And Kwame Nkrumah, being the man that he is, said he would go. He had to go, and in fact, he went on 24th February, and he was not at home. He said he was going, and they didn't allow him to come back to the country he founded. Just like the story of Okomfo Anokye, when he founded a kingdom, told them he was going and he would come back. They didn't allow him to come back. And so was the story of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The land that he founded, the kingdom, the empire, or the country that he founded, he told them he was going on a salient journey, that he would come back, and they never allowed him to come back. And according to the facts, it could be, as Africans, before I want to asujidi, and say obi wa otimi san ba bi mu a yebetimi aka se senia Okomfo Anokye ebe start kingdom no ono na osan ba say obe start a bigger one, which was bigger than what he started before. Nti me sisupi ama say Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah no ono ane Okomfo Anokye no se okwaba no ono no ba in 1948 and 1947 ono no san bae na obechichiri oman kese a esochi ne o started before no ono no say osan akwaba but o mama na mbabiem. And we all know the vision of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is bigger than the Ghana that he started. He wanted to build a bigger empire, bigger than the Ghana state. He was eyeing the African continent. So we believe, it is in the belief, in the right sense, backed by fact, that Okomfo Anokye no one buy so Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Inti senior makano Mississippi BM said the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah was not brought about because he was incompetent. It was rather because he was too competent for the white man to accept. He was proving them too wrong. He was proving them wrong, that they didn't like it. So the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah was done in collaboration with the police and the military, led by a council called the National Liberation Council. Their leader was Joseph Arthur Ankrah, General Joseph Arthur Ankrah, and he was a leader of the National Liberation Council. They named it National Liberation in the sense that they thought Osagyefo was leading the country in the wrong direction, so he was overstepping his power. He was taking the people for granted, so they would take the power from him. So they were liberating the country from the power of the Redeemer, who was the Osagyefo. So the National Liberation Council did a coup, supported by the American government through the American embassy in Ghana. It is a fact. It is a fact. Mississippi BM, America and Sawum, Britain and Sawum, and Sanomutu Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Fact, CIA a release fact, say America and Britain almost near to Kwame Nkrumah. Declassified facts by the CIA shows that the foreign imperialist power of America and Britain were in collaboration with the local people to overthrow Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Miyake kani ye seni eteni eninchuchi Osajifo Kwame Nkrumah mo abrofo amabawrete America na mo England. Eteni mo Osajifo ne Bible mo ta ombekri no omo ne omo nesika ne mo adwene eteni bede chuchi enya ne mabete Ghana no ne omo de chuchu mo abotefe ambede chuchu. He was not in the country, so the overthrow was successful. They had tried more than 7 times, they couldn't. It was the only time he was not around that it was successful in 1966, 24th February. So the new military council came to power. They became the government, and General Joseph Arthur Ankara became the head of state, not the president, because nobody voted for him. He came by the power of the gun. So he was a head of state. And from then, everything started going wrong with the country Ghana. The country that was once respected outside the continent now was in the hands of the very enemies of Ghana. So companies that were not allowed to operate in the country were allowed after the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah. Now the government was run and dictated by foreign powers. The leaders were puppets. So that was the beginning of puppetry in the politics of Ghana. Mississippi, amount. No much sure was say. After you took Kwame Nkrumah, no, and amanyo na say politicians omo ye nkoama abrofo no started by amanyo semu companies Osajifo asi abeboa ye nyina almost started to toy oman no na ekoye ni no na efedie ye started by ye chi. So the country started declining economically. Ghana went under an IMF agreement, and the country started going down. Inflation, and they changed the name of the Accra airport. They started privatizing companies that Osajifo built for the nation. So nationalized companies became privatized companies. That was the beginning of privatization of Ghanaian enterprises and corporations in this country. So General Ankara and the National Liberation Council were in power, and they became so notorious that they were so incompetent. Chese bibia chese no munim ne omoye. Bibia chese obi ena wo matiko so mo koye ya omoye. Obi na disika wo matiko. Na machiro omo de Mississippi ama on ya omo mutaya chire disika wo matiko so mo koye san. Ndi omo bedi tumi no Ghana for ni hu se omo ye fedi agro no bedi ye. Nti nkrofo no started say Ghana for now started say omo mpe military government na 1966 obedi 3 years. The 69 na Ghana for who say omo mpe military ni biem. Nti that time no people like Edward Akufo-Addo, current president ne papa, omo ye lawyers no omo started fighting K Buzi anum, omo na omanu ye din wo amanyosem nim, omo started omo ya crachefo a omo gina against the soldiers. Nti omo pressure NLC, National Liberation Council na ama omo bani guye in 1969. Nti they had to bring the country back to a republic, in the sense that, so I would explain the republic for you, in the sense that the republic is a word promulgated by Plato, the Greek philosopher, in the sense that a republic is a domain that is ruled by a person chosen by the people he's ruling over. It means that the right of a leader wouldn't come from blood, or he wouldn't have to be noble, but only if he knows he has the right knowledge to bring the people out of the struggle. If he shows the people the way of his vision and the people accepts it, he becomes their leader by popular vote. So they started the republic. So the Greek started what we know as republic today, and they had two factions. They had a senate of oppositions. That one side would argue on what direction the country should go. If the other side doesn't agree, they will bring a new idea or another proposition on how the country should go. So that is the basis of the republic. And after independence, every country must have a republic. By the time the 1969 Constitution was created, popular politicians like the Edward Akufo-Addo and the Buzias were in the forefront of the political game in Ghana. The military has been disbanded and pushed back to their position as the defenders of the state, and the new popular politicians who were prominent in the making of the 1969 Constitution were famous rather. So Buzia became the new popular leader, and the 1969 election he won. He became the next president after the disbanded council of the NLC. So Buzia became the first president of the Second Republic from 1969 to 1972. And this man, Buzia, was a great man. He was an intellectual. He was a great academic. Just na dream bo or bohoma ena ofi wenchi or ya deshia injina dankwa ne achim ne the whole opposition against Kwame Nkrumah no more penasem just ono ofi ahimfie ena wa bohoma ni din kra. There's a popular cliche that his name is an acronym for the best university student of Africa. But I will tell you otherwise. There's nothing like that. It was all propaganda for the man. In fact, Buzia comes from the Akan word or Twi word. Bosnia means dirt. Buzia simply means Bosnia in Akan language, or Twi means dirt. It means dirt. So that is what the name means. And when we put a vowel in front of it, it becomes Abosian, which is gravel. So that is the basis of the name Buzia. It means Bosnian, which is dirt. So this man became the president after 1969, and he was grossly incompetent. Which I say, yesterday, Nyobaye no yako yachi kosua ni nipa kukudam webeye Ghana chese. Na he's epitome of the current generation of politicians we see, that they are all talk but less action. They can say all the rhetoric but couldn't do what they say. And Buzia was one of them. He was a man with high rhetoric, highly eloquent, but grossly efficient. He couldn't achieve. At Buzia's time, that he devalued the currency, the Ghanaian cedi, which was very prominent currency, and he devalued it, and the country went under the IMF. We went into debt, high debt with the IMF. We borrowed so much money for the first time in Ghana history. That was under Buzia's government. Buzia didn't do anything lasting when it comes to infrastructure. He was an anti-Nkrumahist, and he came to bring down everything Osagyefo had laid down which the NLC tried to bring down. He came to continue. His politics was a propagandist politics that he practiced. And by 3 years, he was so unpopular that he ran away to England on the guise that his health was not good. So he went to England to seek health. And when it was announced that the president was in a hospital seeking health, then the Chief Justice of that time, which was Edward Akufo-Addo, became the acting president. That's how come we say the current president's father was president. In fact, he was acting in an acting capacity. Nobody voted for him to become president, but it was a fact that Busia had run away to England on the premise that he was seeking medical help or seeking medication in England. That Edward Akufo, who was the Chief Justice then, became the president for only 1 year. So from 1969 to 1972, there was a man who came up to overthrow Busia. He saw the vacuum created in government, the incompetent vacuum created by the Busia government, and he overthrew the president in 1972. And this man is the next president after Dr. Kofi Abrefa Busia. This man is General Ignatius Kutu Achampong, popularly known as General I.K. Achampong. He was an Ashanti man, and forgive me, I didn't tell you the background of the previous leaders. For the first, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was Guan. He was Guan by tribe. He was an Nzima, and Nzimas are Guans first before they speak Fante, before they became Akans. They are tribally Guans. So the first president was Guan. The second leader or head of state was a Gan man. General Ankara was Gan. And the third, which is Busia, was Bono region, which then was under the Ashanti region. It was the Ashanti North region. That was the name then. So by then, Busia was an Ashanti. And we come to another Ashanti who overthrew Dr. K. Busia, who is General Ignatius Kutu Achampong. And this man, it is a fact that he was an Nkrumahist. He was a proponent of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So everything this man did, you could see a touch of patriotism to it. This man, Ignatius Kutu Achampong, came to inherit high debt from Dr. K. Busia, the debtor himself. So Ghana was owing too much to the IMF, that there was a council convened by the IMF and the government of Ghana to collect the debt owed by the government. And General Ignatius Achampong at that meeting decided that Ghana couldn't pay and we wouldn't pay that debt. So he started a popular slogan called the Yentua movement. General Achampong no by nonte to say Kwame Nkrumah. Bibi obeye bia kyerɛ sɛ ɔman ho dɔ wɔ n'akoma mu. No pɛ sɛ nea Osagyefo yɛ bi ɔno obɛyɛ bi. Ba ɔno ne mistake ne sɛ ɔde tuo na baeɛ. Obi anto ne so aba. Obetu second government of Busia ne guye. Nti ɛno ɛna yɛ ne downfall ne na yɛ ne mistake. But bibi kyerɛ sɛ no nim ne ɔyɛ. Bibi kyerɛ sɛ ɔwɔ adwempa ɛne vision a ɔpɛ sɛ ɔde yɛ Ghana yi. Ɔno no started say Ghana, you better drive it from the left to the right. Until started Operation Keep Right. Now Ghana, you drive it on the left to say England, to say India, to say Australia, Japan, countries where you know now more colonies. Emma England. He started the Operation Keep Right, which is that Ghana was driving on the left and decided that we should keep on the right. So he started a movement and he started the Operation Feed Yourself, that Ghana would go back to domesticating and controlling the means of farming and food production in the country. So he started a vibrant movement called the Operation Feed Yourself. It was highly successful that under his government, Ghana began exporting food again. General Ike Achampong started the Dansoman estate. As I told you, that man was an Nkrumah student, so he wanted to perpetuate everything Osagyefo did. So Osagyefo built Akosombo Dam, and he came to build Wager Dam. The Wager Dam that we know, he built it. General Ike Achampong, ono no besi Wager Dam, ono no besi Dansoman estate, because Kwame Nkrumah asi Tema community, and you also started Dansoman. On started Operation Feed Yourself. Ghana food exhibition our trade fair. Fibia so Ghana for the aduane beko trade fair. Ne acquire food exhibition. Under him, nti started centimeters and kilometers measurement. First near use imperial system. We used to have the imperial system as the measurement system in this country. It was under Achampong that we changed that. He was a nationalist. It means Ojomanidi or Manhodo. But or your mistake, or my Antone Swaba. Into your non so naban bedi aban ama yantunu say na onim ne oye anoye incompetent, but ye tunu because or your soldier by the mistake oye ne say odi to me na no can say sisia one who say pressure one so a amonfo ne mpe soldier ye pese ye ko back to Republican. Ndi ono say Oberform me BBI friend Unigov, Union government. Say Obama military na beka amanyosamu senior politicians a blend of the military with the local politicians, and that was abysmally opposed. People disagreed. He became unpopular with that decision, and he was so by that decision he was forced to step down. In fact, they didn't overthrow him. He was forced to step down. So he stepped down, and he is the only leader after the coup. He didn't leave the country. He was in the country. And in fact, it is on record that he is the only leader whose coup was bloodless. When he did the coup against Buzia, he committed no bloodshed. He killed nobody because the president was not even in the country. The threat was away. So after he was overthrown, before he was overthrown by his own friends, his colleagues, who were part of the National Liberation Council. Indeed, just said, "Nyachomnedia, if he enye namfo, ene tu na ba ene gu, yomu muze ono na adwene na ode ikono, fata senior masters ne peno. Inti yomu yusu the Unigov theory, no, say no per se or the soldier." Ebeji to me, I'm a soldier for car by Munti. Omutunu, they did the in-house coup against him, and General Afifa and the Koto case came to power, but they couldn't stay. The young military officers in the army saw that there was a free